Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Virgo energy. And for this round, we're going to do this 10 card spread again. We're going to use these Intuit cards from Intuit's Etsy shop. And we're going to see how different people, what might be going on in people's lives depending on how they harness their Virgo energy. This could be something particularly that people who are Virgo sun sign or have significant Virgo placements in their chart might be something they struggle with. But we all in turn tap into Virgo energy, and Virgo energy kind of has to do with what our truth is. Are we willing to learn lessons in life, get out of our ego, grow up and mature ourselves, heal, things like that? Or are we more not wanting to do that? And maybe might be more about ourselves or the world, or put more emphasis on the things of the world than listening to, the gifts we were given to help us in this world, our creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature. And some people reject that, don't want to listen to that, are more about themselves, more about the world, and then we come in contact with different people and they have their truth and what kind of drives and motivates them, and it's just to see the truth of what drives and motivates people. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading. We're either aligned with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and we're wanting to work together with other people, being more authentically ourselves, or we could still be kind of more immature and playing games and kind of repeating some old patterns. And we'll all repeat certain patterns and ways of living life and viewing life until we've learned the lesson we were meant to learn from it. And when we see the truth of it, it sets us free to move forward in life differently. So over here we have conformity and judgment, and a card not showing itself, which is victimhood. Kind of growing up in the world, we are children and we grow up in certain families and areas of the country and in different states and countries. And our family and our community and where we live, the world wants us to conform to living our life a certain way. And we grow up with people and they had people in their life that told them how they should live their life. And, at the end of the story here, we have fear of change. And it's kind of interesting because this is in the dark, this is in the light. And Virgo energy can talk about doing that inner work emotionally, and this is a feminine figure. And the way I read tarot is the masculine figures can represent our more egoic nature, and then the feminine figures can represent how we think and feel. And we all have fear of change. And we all grow up in the world, in our family dynamics and things like that. That kind of tell us how we should live our life. But is that our truth? And then the fact that we're growing up with and have different people in our life that kind of grew up at different eras of time, like our parents grew up at a different era of time than we did. And life doesn't stay the same. And hopefully we look at the good building blocks and we take those with us. And as we go on this journey of life and learn lessons and come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't, hopefully we kind of overcome our fear of being more independent and living our more authentic truth. Because we could hide. Virgo can be about hiding from the truth also. We can hide our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And then we can kind of align with our more self-protective, self-defensive nature. And, do we work through the victimhood and the past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs? Some people have and some people haven't. Then we have discernment, betrayal, stress. The discernment card here shows the scales of justice. To listen to our intuition about Do we think people are being just and fair? Love is supposed to be where are people being authentic, or are they kind of creating an illusion, living more from their defensive egoic nature, but trying to work together with us anyway, but they think it's just and fair to keep being defensive and maybe live more from their mind than their heart and have fear about being more authentically themselves. And then we might realize that, they have some issues that they haven't worked through that make them be that way. Then we have the projections, authority, and study. Well, sometimes people are projecting things onto us because of issues that happened in their past, right? I'm afraid you're going to try to manipulate me. I'm afraid you're going to hurt me. Well, it's one thing to maintain balance, the scales of justice, that I am going to use my discernment about the different people in my life. Might have I been hurt before? Yes, but I have, in my Virgo nature, learned lessons from those life experiences and the different people I've dealt with and experienced in my life, to know that not everyone's the same. I know there's some people who are more bossy, more controlling, more about themselves, more about the world, more about themselves. Kind of like they want to work together with you, maybe to move forward with you in some way. But their truth could be that I reject looking at those issues that could make me defensive and fearful and get me all up in my head. Well, if they don't work through those issues that make them defensive and get them all up in their head, they've decided in the scales of justice that they think it's just and fair for them to be in this defensive energy. It's just that it's not seeing through the fear and the insecurity and seeing, kind of like trusting themselves enough to believe that if people were to act in a more immature or bossy or controlling or selfish or hurtful way, that I believe I can stand up for myself and what I believe in. And if the people I'm in relationship with are willing to work together with me, maybe we keep moving forward. If they're not, then maybe with the study card, I've already learned that I can't change other people. I can offer love and encouragement and be just and fair and treat them the way I like to be treated. But I think eventually there comes a time in people's life where the authority card kind of reminds me of Aries Emperor energy, where we kind of think we're the boss and we can control things and I can change people. And, believing that love is the answer, it is the highest energy to offer people, but they have their own free will. And if they, in their, what Aries is fire sign energy, about what they're motivated and inspired by, and if they're more motivated and inspired by the world, to conform to the world, to be more defensive, don't want to learn lessons in life or look at life any differently, don't want to change, they can want people to keep kind of indulging them in their more stubborn nature, defensive nature, materialistic view of life, defensive view of life. The problem is some people can eventually feel like nothing's ever going to change. I don't want to keep repeating this pattern, because if some of those of my own issues used to manipulate me, I might have worked through those things. I might have offered truth and love to those issues to let go of them. And now those things don't manipulate me like they used to. I was inspired to put in the work and effort to wrap my brain around this game of life. So now the study card is kind of reminding me of Sagittarius energy, which is life is an adventure. Life is about learning all these lessons. And if I'm willing to learn the lessons I was meant to learn and wrap my brain around this game of life and face my fears, I can keep moving forward learning new lessons. But I have to get out of my defensiveness, letting my own shadow nature or fearful nature or codependent nature manipulate me. Because if I do, I'm going to get in relationships with other people who are happy that I do, because they do too, just to whatever manipulates them. And then we get in relationships, and part of coming together again with all these different people that we can be drawn and attracted to is they are the right person to help us work through these issues. That's why we were drawn and attracted to them to begin with. And we maybe weren't drawn and attracted to certain people because we still had some lessons to learn about having some patterns of ways of viewing life or viewing relationships and kind of what we thought was just and fair. You know, at one time we were all more immature and we were going living the dream. And nobody could tell us any different. And then we kind of lived that phase of life. And then we could have maybe kind of realized that there did get to be a certain time where maybe we should be inspired to face some of our fears to move to another phase of life. Just like we did age 15, 18, 21, 25, right? And eventually we kind of are inspired to put in that work and effort to detach from some more immature ways of being and our defensive nature and our fearful nature and living more from our mind than our heart and our fear and our insecurities and projecting all of our issues onto other people or casting a net on everyone and believing in ourselves and believing, and part of it can be just to get us to work through those issues so that we are, I kind of view the authority card as Aries, which is represented by the Emperor, and to be a true Emperor in your life, where in tarot we have the pages and we have the knights and we have the kings and the queens, then we have the Emperor and the Empress. You know, so we're not like little pages running around having to learn some of those lessons that we did when we were children, because we already learned some of those lessons, right? And then we had to go off in life and we were a little bit older and we kind of dealt with some of the same issues, because the same issues are things that we deal with throughout our life. Pain, heartbreak, fear, insecurity, laziness, self-indulgence, pride, ego, lust, greed, right? But as a knight, we're a little older, so then think we know more than we did when we were pages, and then we're maybe standing up for more about what we think is just and fair, but we still got some lessons to learn. And then we go through the kings and the queens and we learn lessons. And then if we have learned all those lessons, we're a good leader in our own life and we're making good decisions in our life because we've learned how to love ourselves. So the Emperor has kind of learned all these lessons of the suits of the kings. The Empress emotionally has learned all these lessons through all the suits of the queens. I let my heart run my life. I let my mind run my life. I let my passionate nature run my life. I let my worldly nature run my life. And I saw how all those things kind of were these life experiences. And some of those things were because of what the world told me. Some of them is what my parents told me or my friends. And all those life experiences, some of them that I thought were going to bring me justice and I thought for sure was going to make me happy. And then some things happened that didn't turn out the way I wanted. And I had to work through all those issues within myself. And I had to get out of my ego that, you know, it's not just about me. And I'm dealing with all these other people that, you know, got to deal with this within themselves too. And I need to get balanced within myself and love myself and work through my own issues to be more inspired, to be more independent, to stand up for myself, my loving nature, my want for, in Emperor, Empress high vibe would be that all of these different aspects of myself, my heart, my mind, my 3D nature of things in the world, and my creative passion nature, they're all equally important. And when I used to kind of be more tipped out of balance, thinking one wasn't as important and maybe the other three were more important, or just one was more important, the other three were less important, like, oh my gosh, but I love them. It kind of threw our life in the ditch, you know? And we kind of realized that all aspects of myself are equally important, and I need to be a good ruler in my life and the decisions I make. And based on these lessons that I've learned, to maintain balance within myself, and that if my intuition, which is also something we could have learned to listen to, because I think our intuition, I also kind of view that as fire sign energy and emotional water sign energy. It was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world because of the fact that people can wear a good false mask. So there, the conformity card could be people who, in their earth sign energy of Virgo and Capricorn and Taurus, are much more invested in the world. And it is more about conforming to the world and having a certain image in the world. And that's why they can get into certain professions and certain relationships and certain friendships, is more, will this be good for me? Will this look like I have justice in the world? And some of those people kind of, the stress card kind of being like the 8 or 9 of swords, is Gemini energy, which is about our dualistic nature of free will. They don't really want to connect in or align with, more so, their more hopeful, believing, loving, intuitive nature. I get hurt doing that. It kind of leads me down the wrong path, they think. Hasn't worked out before. And so instead of learning the lessons they were meant to learn from it, they become defensive to people, and they just decide to make their life more about themselves or these things of the world, or indulging in these things of the world to make themselves feel better. Because now they're fearful of love, which we can all have kind of been there. It's just that high vibe people weren't willing to let other people that they have been in contact with in their life, who might have been a little bit more on the shadowy edge, bossy, controlling, manipulative, weren't who they said they were, wore a false mask. All of those things were things to help me as I move forward in my life, because I maybe didn't realize that if I'm someone who's motivated and inspired by love, I think everybody's motivated and inspired by love. And really, for some people, you are like a threat, and you are the enemy to be feared. If I even start to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to think that maybe I'll let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play, and then they got to leave the relationship because that is too scary, to let their more emotional nature out in the world to play. They get hurt, and they maybe don't believe that they could pick themselves up and dust themselves back off. And so we've all been there. It's just that the high vibe people are like, I'm not going to let the fact that some people were unjust, unfair, unkind, wore a false mask, whatever, stop me from believing in my dreams. I just have to maintain balance within myself, listen and stand up for my more loving nature, where maybe before I let people manipulate my more loving nature or abuse my more loving nature. I had lessons to learn about standing up for myself emotionally and requiring the truth is that love is supposed to be just and fair. And some other people don't think so. It should be more about them, or people should indulge them. And it's like, no, love is supposed to be just and fair. And now that I've learned that's not everybody's motivated by love, done with the illusion of that some people are more about themselves, more about ego and image or indulgence than love, want to be in relationships more for the status, the ego, the image. might want to repeat some old patterns. They had a way of living life growing up. They might not be someone who wants to be more independent of a past pattern. This is the way I view life. This is the way my family viewed life. I want to repeat that pattern. Because otherwise, I would have to love and believe in myself enough to invest in living my truth. And I would have to learn these lessons and work through these issues and see where some of their philosophies of life aren't my philosophy of life, and their viewpoint of the world, and kind of maybe when they grew up and things they were dealing with. Everybody could have made decisions in their life that did work out for them. And by worldly standards, it could look very abundant and stable and successful. But maybe they had to, there's always like a price to pay. And some people made the best decisions they could make in their life. And maybe they never really lived their more authentic life because they were more, it's kind of like, are we going to keep repeating these patterns? Or are we going to look at the good building blocks, deal with our own past pain, fear, insecurities, to be more independent, to live our truth, treating other people. High Vibe Virgo is offering people truth and love, justice, fairness, encouragement, being authentic, and wanting to be in relationships with other people who've done that work. And sometimes, because we kind of think we're the boss and we think we can change people, and I'm sure they'll grow up, or I'm sure they'll get out of their defensiveness, or I'm sure they'll quit indulging in those things that really aren't conducive to a relationship moving forward. I'm sure eventually they will want to change, but it's very hard to change people's truth in the conformity and the judgment card, trying to move Earth. And that is like Virgo and Taurus and Capricorn, that we all harness. What is our truth? What drives and motivates us? What is our philosophy of life? Are we motivated and inspired in high vibe, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, to grow and mature ourselves, to really be who we say we are, to really walk the talk? Or do we just want to look like we're that type of person, getting jobs and relationships with people that make us look like that type of person, but it's really not even our truth? It's all to have this certain image, to project this certain image in the world. Look how victorious and successful my life is. Look at the job I have. Look at the person I'm dating. Look how at our status, our social clout, or whatever. Or the things we indulge in that we think we're living the dream. But it might be more because they have a fear of living their more authentic life. And then they want other people to make their life about those things because things manipulate them, and they in turn hope that because we all in our worldly nature can want these things of the world. But are we going to stay in jobs, friendships, and relationships where we feel like we can't really be more authentically ourselves because those people don't want to be more authentically themselves? They want to maybe make their life, again, more about conforming to the world, or it's more about what you wear, and go to these functions and participate in these things because it's good for your ego and your image, and other people will view you a certain way. It's like, if I'm going to go participate in those things, I want to go participate in it because I really want to. Well, you have to. What would people say? High vibe energy is that I'm not trying to cause anyone any problems. I'm treating people the way I like to be treated. I want to be a bringer of truth and love, whatever. But I'm not going to dress a certain way, act a certain way, and I'm not going to not act a certain way and not dress a certain way to be like, to cause chaos. That I don't want any of that. I just think if you want to make your life about these things or do these certain things or act certain ways or dress certain ways or participate in certain functions for whatever reason you want to, you go ahead and do that. I might think you're doing it more to try to manipulate and control people to make people view you a certain way. And with some of the people in your life, you could have already seen the truth that they don't live their more authentic life. And they do make their life more about these things. And then they wanted you to make your life about those things. And it's hard because there's a lot of those things we do want. And we could love those people. But I would say some of those things manipulate you less than it manipulates them. And they maybe thought you, like them, had more of a victim mentality of not like loving and believing in yourself and maybe being more codependent on other people and the world and whatever to acknowledge your worth and value and make you conform, like it makes them conform to something. And it could even just be friends and family members that they have that live their life a certain way and they have fear of being more independent from them. And it's like, well, I am more independent of my friends and family group. Can I love them all? Yes, but we respect each other as our high vibe Virgo is respect everybody as individuals. And you're free to go live your life the way you want it. But some people, they're quite controlling in a good way or a bad way. You should go do this. You should go do that. You should act like this. You should act like this. This is how we're living our life. If you go do life differently, we're going to turn our back on you because that's not our truth. And we're going to keep living life like this. And then that peer pressure, like you can't go live your more authentic life, and if you don't live your life like we live our life, then you become more independent. Well, then you're not as caught up and manipulated by these things as we are. And some people say, I just want to be more authentically myself from love and adhere to a higher truth and justice than what my friend group or my original family or some family group I could have gotten involved with of what they think is just and fair. Well, where'd they get that? That's the whole thing in shadowy energy. Where'd we come up with all these ideas? Like you have to act like this or dress like this or, don't hang out with those people, don't talk to those people, only hang out with these people or whatever. It's like, how about I just want to go live my authentic life? And I think I have lots of things to learn from all sorts of people in the world. And, when you're more independent in the world and you're more maybe balanced within yourself, the people who are more out of balance could not like you because it kind of stresses them out because they don't know, they can't maybe manipulate you and control you like they generally manipulate and control people to get them to do what they want. If you're not willing to indulge them in kind of immature, poor behavior, they just don't know what to do with you, right? And, I think if we're in kind of workplaces or community involvement things or whatever, we can get along with all sorts of people. And we just accept that they think and view and act the way they do in their free will. And if we know we acted with character and integrity and we were treating them the way we like to be treated in a just and fair, loving and encouraging way, and they were defensive to it, I'm not going to get up in my ego about it. And I'm going to wish them peace, and I'm going to focus on my things I need to focus on and focus more of my attention on people who I do think are more illuminated aren't more manipulative or bossy or controlling or hurtful or unkind. And those are the people I'm going to invest more of my time, energy, and effort into. And then some of the people, kind of like, if, say, in a family dynamic or a workplace or something, right? Things had been kind of more tipped in favor, where there was kind of more of the people who were more, I don't know, maybe even lazy or something, right? Or manipulative. And then as time goes by, it kind of shifts to be where there's more people who are more balanced. Yeah, you know, adding new people into a workplace, adding new people into a family dynamic. It kind of changes the whole dynamic. And if some people are moving forward in a more balanced way, more hopeful and believing in themselves, not as manipulated by things, it kind of illuminates to people who hide, and that can just be kind of hiding more behind their egoic nature or self-protective nature, that they do. And then that can make them uncomfortable, because it could start to make them wonder, why am I not more authentically myself? Why do I hide behind my ego or my defensive nature? And sometimes that can really bother people, and they can decide that I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's just get rid of the people who do make us question those things, and then we can go back to us who all hold a similar way of viewing life. Then we don't have anyone who makes us question why we live life the way we do. And so sometimes, some people are healing, growing, maturing, less manipulated, being maybe more independent. Other people can really not like that. And it can be a way of trying to get you back into more shadowy energy. But the more, you could have fallen for it a lot of times in life. But as people learn to maintain better balance within themselves and not let outside influences impact them as much, I just accept that they are where they are, think like they think, view life the way they view it. And I'm going to maybe keep just maintaining my balance, and that in itself is like me telling people that I feel like you're trying to manipulate me or throw me out of balance, because if other people are out of balance, they want you out of balance or equally out of balance with them. Either you indulge me, like you give, I take, or I want you to kind of be riding in the ditch of life along with me. And some people are like, nope, I'm not going to get my head up in my head about this. You can act and be whatever way you want, and I'm going to keep maintaining balance and maybe just kind of observing the actions that people are taking and really seeing more what kind of drives and motivates people, and kind of taking note of it, and then kind of getting clear about if that's your truth or not. You could want to stay in a job, a friendship, a relationship, but if you keep seeing that they try to, we either treat each other the way we like to be treated, in a just and fair way, in truth and love, and willing to illuminate the truth, or we're trying to kind of hide the truth, kind of trying to control people and manipulate people into not revealing the truth and not shedding light on those things. And there's a lot of people in the world that don't want to deal with the truth. truth about things within themselves, or truths about the things and people in their life that manipulate them, don't want to see that those people or their own shadow nature, how it manipulates them. And in Virgo energy, you have to, and in fire sign energy, you have to be motivated and inspired to even want to deal with the truth. And some people don't. No, 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 that's not my truth. This is the way we've been doing it is the way we should do it, or me being more bossy or controlling or making our life more about these things of the world. That is my truth. And then some other people see the truth and they work through it, and working through their defensiveness to the only person I can change is me. Can I come to a place of peace about it where I can acknowledge just that our truths are different and how they want to keep moving forward, and what motivates and inspires them is different than my truth and how I want to move forward. And come to a place, I guess I'm kind of looking at the children card as like the Six of Cups, where we come to a place of peace about it emotionally. And that can take a long time in those situations before people decide to stand up for what they believe in, and maybe, tell an employer I'm leaving, distance yourself from a friendship or certain ways of living life or hanging out with certain people, to step out into the light and reveal your truth, which can just be that this I thought maybe was my truth at one time, but it's not, and there's things about it that I could find a little more shadowy, or like they're kind of controlling and oppressive, or maybe other people don't want to keep learning new lessons in life, and you might be a very curious person who's always wanting to learn new lessons, offering them love and encouragement to come with you, but they have their free will to say, no, I don't want to step out of my comfort zone, or I don't want to be more authentically myself, or I don't want to let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play in the world. And eventually some people are like, okay, well, you do that, and I'm going to do this. And then people decide to go get the justice they deserve. There will be people who will be defensive to you because they think, I don't know, that you're not living life the way they thought you should live life. It can really stress them out. And it can also stress you out. But I'm going to see through all the illusion, and out of adhering to truth and love, I'm not going to get so caught up in these things of the world, because I believe that high vibe energy does want us to give birth to new things. Shadowy energy wants us to keep repeating old patterns, and then we don't give birth to anything new. And throughout our life, like my nesting dolls over there, we shed an old layer of ourselves to give birth to a new version of ourselves, just like we did. We let go of being a 15-year-old. We weren't going to act like a 15-year-old anymore. We were now going to act more like an 18-year-old. And same way when we went to 21 and when we went to 25. And, everybody kind of goes through those stages of life, and whether they want to or not, peer pressure in society kind of can force them to have to do those things. But then they could have decided when they get older, they have this way of viewing life that they think is just and fair, and it should be maybe just more making your life, I've got a job, I'm in a relationship, we're good. Nothing, I don't want to shed any old layers. I want to do this. And other people want and are curious to keep shedding old layers of themselves, freeing themselves from things that manipulate them. And sometimes when you want to do that, other people don't. And then we see the truth of it, so we go hang out with people that we think are more on the same page as us, and then we're kind of working with those people. And then, that relationship People will either keep moving forward with us and we'll keep moving forward with them, and we'll keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves and shedding old layers. And some of the new people who come in our life will be people, when it gets to that point, will be defensive. Until people really have to deal at a core level, if they're willing to get out of their ego, get out of their more defensive nature, their more worldly nature, grow and heal themselves emotionally, maybe want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships versus more superficial and shallow relationships to either indulge in or to be in for these certain reasons. And high vibe people want deep, meaningful relationships. And if I'm letting my more authentic, hopeful, believing nature out to play, I want you to let yours out too. And some people are like, oh, no, 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 I'm not doing that. I could get hurt. It's like, well, then I'm going to let you be in relationships with other people who are in that energy, because that's not my truth. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Virgo energy that they might not see coming? Making a judgment, not going to stay in victimhood, not be controlled by my own shadow nature or other people in more shadowy energy. What's coming up that you don't see coming? The Six of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Page of Swords and the Ten of Cups. The Six of Pentacles in Taurus energy can be a philosophy of life that we had, and we could have worked more with our more worldly nature or codependent nature, fearful nature, or caught up in the world, and now exchanging that foundation to align with standing up for our more inner child nature in our air sign energy of Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius, of what we think is just and fair in our free will, about looking at life from a higher perspective, and our dreams. And our dreams aren't just about us or other people or having a certain status or image in the world. There's a higher truth, and it's about... The sixes can talk about balance. Do I want some of these things in the world? Sure, everyone does. Am I going to put in work and effort to have some of those things? Sure. But the most important thing that makes it all worthwhile is love. I want to be in a job that I enjoy and with loving and encouraging, supportive people around me. I want to be in friendships and relationships with people that the truth is the reason they exchange time, energy, and effort with me is because they want to, from love. And you're looking to find the people who are willing to be in that energy, and the people that are in your life that work with you currently that way. You're standing up for them. They're standing up for you. Because that is your truth and your philosophy of life. And you could realize some other people, what makes them happy is more about just being in a relationship, either their friend or family group that's the primary foundation in their life, even though they want to maybe be in relationships with other people. Those other people kind of are still the primary foundation in their life. It's like, and if those people are like, you shouldn't move forward with those people, well, then they won't move forward with those people because they're still more codependent on these other people, regardless of what age they are. They're not very independent. And their truth might be they're just more about the world, and that getting in relationships for the certain status or image, and that's their truth, and they thought you should stay in it for those reasons. Like, that's not enough for me to stay in it. I kind of find it superficial and shallow if that's the only reason we're in it. If it's not based on truth and love, then why are we in it? And so because you are willing to stand up for your truth and what motivates and inspires you, it enabled you to get more balanced within yourself, which the Six of Pentacles and the Sixes can talk about. I have made a decision. I used to conform more and let other things and people manipulate me. I want balance. I want justice. I want fairness. And if there's people in my life that's not their truth, I wish you peace. The page is like a small gesture I just wish you peace. You have your truth, I have my truth. And you might be more caught up in the illusion of the world and more about yourself and think it should be more about you or more about these things. That's fine. If that's your idea of what's going to make you happy, then you go pursue that. But that's not my truth. And then I think as you do that, I think there's going to be other people that see that, you're not getting in jobs, relationships, and friendships and participating in certain things in the world more for the ego or the image or for immature reasons or the lust or the greed or the pride or the ego. And other people see that you're being authentic and they want to be in a relationship with you because they can be authentically themselves. And, it's more truth and love and justice and fairness that motivates you than you being more about yourself or trying to control people or manipulate people. So what's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Virgo energy that they might not see coming? The Ten of Swords and the Two of Wands. Why? Because of the Eight of Cups. Some people are unwilling. The Two of Wands, like viewing this as kind of the Emperor energy, are both Aries energy. And some people are still in their fire sign energy of self, just still more caught up in themselves and these things of the world. And until they kind of see that it either is more self-indulgent or they keep thinking it should be more about them, or that they have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship and they have some lessons to learn, they're going to keep repeating this pattern because in their fire sign energy, they don't want to walk away from it. And other people are ready to walk away from it because they've seen that those things that they used to look to in their Gemini energy, living more from their mind than their heart, letting their fear or whatever drive their life, and they thought that would bring them emotional wish fulfillment. But it doesn't. Our more shadowy nature doesn't really have our best interests at heart. Our shadow nature tries to tell us that if we try to control people or we make it more about us or we go indulge in these things, we'll be happy. If we make our life about these things, we'll be happy. But it's kind of aligning with our more shadowy, self-indulgent nature because we don't want to put in work and effort to emotionally grow and mature ourselves. And other people already saw through the illusion, the projection. They had a dream, is what the Two of Wands talks about also. And I see my dream isn't coming into reality here. And I could have gotten caught up in the illusion of some people. They could have seemed in their Virgo energy of self that they were stable and grounded and they weren't immature and they weren't more prideful and egotistical and they weren't blah, 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 maybe a pillar of society. And people got in those jobs and relationships with those people. But as time went by, they could have realized that, those people might have a lot of good traits and qualities and characteristics. But the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups, which can be where we get in a relationship and we have a new beginning. But they're still kind of wanting to repeat an old pattern. And it's but I want us to become independent of that old pattern and give birth to our own thing. And I could have grown up in a family that acted this way and didn't act this way and lived life a certain way and viewed life a certain way. And you could have grown up in a family that had all their things. And it's about us taking the good building blocks from both to be a family where we work cooperatively with each other. And some people are but that's not my dream. That means I would have to walk away from this illusion about myself or being more about me or more about the world or repeating this old pattern. And I'd have to become more independent of it, face my fears, and really kind of hold myself accountable and be inspired to be willing to hold myself accountable, to be inspired to give birth to something new with someone where I work together with them cooperatively, and it isn't more about me and my wants and my needs and my lust and my greed, my pride, my ego, or the world. And some people are like, no, that's not my dream. I never plan to do life differently. I want to stay in my comfort zone, and this is my comfort zone. That they maybe didn't tell people that, and they maybe didn't even know it themselves until as the relationship progressed, it was going to have to quit being more about them, because shadowy Aries energy is about the self, and kind of indulging themselves in a relationship where they would have to kind of grow up, let their more emotionally intuitive loving nature out to play instead of letting their more worldly Virgo nature kind of run their life. And some of them are unwilling to do that. So if they have some people in their life, again, who'd like to move forward with them in a workplace or relationship, but they refuse to work through whatever issues there are within them that manipulate them from being inspired to move forward in life differently, maybe make some better decisions in their life, quit trying to control people or manipulate people, or quit thinking people should keep indulging them, they're going to have some more people move away from them. And they did not see that coming. Because people can always have people who are loving and encouraging and supportive. Like, I want to move forward, but I don't want to move forward unless you move forward too. Well, I keep saying no. They keep not moving forward. Let's keep doing that. Let's just keep doing this. And people can do that for a really long time because they're stressed about making that decision and taking that action to move away from something. Just like people can stay in a bad job where people are bossy and controlling and, but people don't want to go get a different job and they keep putting up with the bullshit. But eventually some people work through it, and some people are working through it right now, and some people are like, I'm done and I'm leaving. And then the other people are shocked. I never thought you would love and believe in yourself. I can't believe you have decided to love and believe in yourself, to go basically get the justice you deserve, to give up some of the things that you could have had here, just some stability or security or the fact that you got a job. It's like, well, I went and looked for a new job and I found a new job. Just like people do it in relationships. I found a new friend. I found other things or people or my job or whatever. I'm going to go invest my time, energy, and effort into that instead of investing my time and energy into this. And some people that get in relationships with them kind of feel backstabbed because, again, Pisces energy, which is the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of cups, and shadowy energy in general can just be where people kind of create an illusion that I'm willing to bring that dream into reality, but really they were never planning to bring that dream into reality. It was just an illusion they created, hoping that once they get people into the relationship with them or get them to take that job, and hoping that even as people like, oh my gosh, these people aren't who they said they are, and they could realize, oh shit, I gotta figure some stuff out here and I need to work through, now that the truth has been revealed, that this is not going the way I thought, and these people aren't who I thought they were. And that can just be when people kind of see through the illusion and see what they didn't really want to see. We can all get in situations and we're defensive because we want it to work out the way we want. And so then we can kind of be defensive to listening to our more intuitive, creative, inspired nature that's trying to get us to see the truth, but we don't want to see the truth because we'd have to put an end to that dream and walk away. And so we don't. And right now, there could be some people going through that, and those people will keep working with them. And some of the shadowy people could be surprised, like, shit, I thought these people would have left by now, but they're not. Okay, well, that works for me. And for some, they can't believe some of the people that are willing to keep working together with them and keep staying in relationship with them. And so long as they're going to keep staying, they're going to keep trying to project this image that there may be this just and fair person and you should keep staying there and staying in relationship. And if other people aren't willing to see through the illusion, believe in themselves, believe in their dreams, become independent, they're going to keep indulging them. But there's always going to be other people who are. And the shadowy people could be surprised at who does stand up and love and believe in themselves, who is making good decisions in their life, which maybe some of those are the people that they thought, oh, if I act in these certain ways, they will never believe in themselves. They will never stand up for themselves. I can always keep manipulating them. And they could be surprised at the people who are like, yeah, no, I'm done. And then they could be surprised at the people who keep staying. And, we all have lessons to learn, and we're all ready to deal with the truth when we're ready to deal with the truth. And we all have our fears about speaking our truth, standing up for ourselves, and being more independent. And, we're all on our own journey of learning these lessons. We've all got different fears and insecurities that could tempt one person more than it influences someone else, because just we're all our own unique people. But I think the high vibe or the more shadowy people, they're not inspired to be more independent of their more worldly view of life, their more self-protective, defensive view of life, other people and things in their life that manipulate them, that they'd have to become independent of. They lack any desire kind of to do so. They're pretty sure that if they keep doing life the way that they've been doing it, that it'll make them happy. And part of it that can make them happy is, I don't want to just let my more emotional nature out in the world, or just be more independent in the world. I am happy living my life like this. I just think, there's consequences for the decisions that we make. And high vibe energy is being independent to kind of be a good leader in the world. And we can be kind of a more shadowy leader in the world, kind of a bad example. We can go live our more authentic life, or we cannot. And everybody has the potential. The Page of Pentacles kind of fiddled in my fingers there. The Page of Pentacles is willing to be a student of life. But we have to first get out of our ego to be willing to be a student of life, and to face our fears and let go of old foundations to go to that next phase of life. And some people aren't inspired to do that, and they're kind of more inspired to indulge their more immature worldly nature. And so that's what they do. I think eventually they might realize that, wow, those people, like, why were those people more bold and brave and confident? How did those people get out of their ego? How did those people become more independent? How come those people didn't make their life about what I made my life about? And it's because the other people were more motivated, maybe, to just not make their life so much about themselves or the world. And they were willing to work with people more cooperatively. And some of these people aren't. For some, they are about themselves. They indulge their more immature nature. They think it's just and fair. And they want to be in relationships with other people who will indulge them in their more immature ways of being, and they think that's living the dream. But I think as other people are in relationships with people where the other people aren't manipulating and controlling them, and they're not manipulating and controlling the other people, and they authentically do equal give and take with each other freely, free will. And they're always trying to stop other people from believing in their dreams and stop other people from kind of loving themselves and being more independent, because they don't do that within themselves. So then the people they're in relationship with, they want those people more codependent on them and the world, just like they are. And some people are like, I can't do that. So I'm going to let you do that, and I'm going to become independent of you, and you can go repeat this pattern with someone else. And if there's someone else who's like, yeah, I find this emotionally fulfilling, well, then you found the right person for you. It just wasn't me. So the Page of Pentacles that kind of was flipping in my fingers, I was just kind of holding the cards in my hand. Could be that everybody has made a decision to move forward in a new beginning. The shadowy people are making that free will choice to not align with their more creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature, and have decided to have a new beginning with people, but repeating this old pattern. And the other people get to move forward in life because they don't want to repeat this old pattern. And they did learn the lesson they were meant to learn. And now they get to move forward, kind of like shedding an old layer of themselves. And the other people are going to repeat this old pattern again. And they might stay there forever until they're willing to deal with the truth of whatever it is that manipulates them. The other people dealt with it. The other people are going to move forward, closing out a cycle to have a new beginning, closing out the past. So there you go, Virgo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.